and she whispered, "Christine, they're coming for me. They won't let me live." Her eyes, God, those eyes, were already haunted, already grieving her own murder. She saw the noose tightening, but what she told me next, it wasn't just betrayal. It was violation on a level that still makes my stomach heave. She was brutally by a man whose bloodline could crush kings. One of those ancient venomous families that treat the Windsors like disposable puppets. He took her by force, ripped her apart physically, spiritually, irreparably. And William, sweet, beautiful William, he's not Charles's son. He's that monster's son. Conceived in terror, born into a lie, the entire palace guarded like a state secret. The Ritz is dead now, finally burning wherever monsters go. But his spawn sits one heartbeat away from the throne. And Israel? They positioned their chosen heir. It's all bloodlines. Pure satanic bloodlines. They breed power, the way farmers breed cattle. Diana walked into that marriage blind. What she found inside Buckingham Palace's walls broke her. Ritual killings in candlelit basements. Blood pooled over altars, while they chanted names no human should know. Child sacrifice. Tiny bodies vanishing into the estates. Screams swallowed by stone. The deeper she looked, the blacker it got. Charles knew. The Queen knew. She vomited for hours after witnessing her first ceremony. The media said she was bulimic. Not true. For years she couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't unsee the faces of the lost children staring back from the dark. She tried to stay silent, for the boys, for survival. But the horror kept growing, metastasizing. Finally, she couldn't choke it down anymore. She started collecting proof. Names, dates, photographs, eyewitness accounts. She was going to burn it all down. Expose the royal paedophile cult, the occult machinery, the foreign intelligence tentacles wrapped around it. That's when the machine activated. MI6, Mossad. They didn't just plan a crash. They staged a ritual execution under the Pont de Marmar, the bridge of the goddess of all places. Blinding lights, tampered brakes, a white Fiat that vanished like smoke. Cold ceremonial murder. They murdered her because she was going to save the children, because she was going to name names, because her light threatened to incinerate their entire shadow empire. The good ones always die young. The purest hearts get ripped out first. The world is colder, darker, emptier without her. I feel her absence every single day.
King Charles isn't William's father. According to Christine Fitzgerald, the healer, Diana trusted with secrets she couldn't tell another soul in the years before her tragic death. William's biological father is Lord Jacob Rothschild, who forced himself on Diana during a prearranged assault that the royal family were complicit in organising. The Rothschilds haven't just influenced the British royal family, they've held dominion over it for generations, pulling financial strings that make crowns bow. But bloodline supremacy seals the deal. In the elite's twisted game, it's never just about money, it's lineage.
They all knew. Every single one of us who loved her knew she was marked with death. Weeks before the tunnel, she grabbed my hand so hard, her nails drew blood, and she whispered, "Christine, they're coming for me. They won't let me live." Her eyes, God, those eyes, were already haunted, already grieving her own murder. She saw the noose tightening, but what she told me next, it wasn't just betrayal. It was violation on a level that still makes my stomach heave. She was raped brutally by a man whose bloodline could crush kings. One of those ancient venomous families that treat the Windsors like disposable puppets.
So, old Jacob Rothschild, allegedly. So, you can see now why I have been extracting the urine from the so-called grifter bloodline of Lucifer, and you see now why the British deep state has gone into meltdown, because Prince William is in fact Jacob Rothschild's rape baby. So from now on we'll call him temper tantrum Rothschild man baby. Always throwing fits. And Middleton, before her death or resurrection or whatever happened to her, when she disappeared for 6 months to get plastic surgery or plugged in or whatever, that's really irrelevant. But that shows they're cursed. But she is also a Rothschild. So Goldsmith Rothschild breed with the Rothschild temper tantrum man baby. So Charles isn't in the mix. And of course that means that lousy Louis, Harlock Charlotte and Gormless George are all pure Rothschild goldsmiths, like of course the one that got crushed like a flea, and around these had no effect on reality. I forget the girl's name.
Iris.
There have been so many victims. But you can see now why I am an existential threat to the Rothschilds. I was wondering, why have they gone to all this effort about yours truly? You know, the royal family shouldn't even care what I say. It should be irrelevant. You know, he's just some Turkish fantasist. No, instead of which they go to astounding lengths to try and fit me up on drugs charges. And you go, well, you know, why would the royal family care? You know, it's not as if I'm front page news or have millions of followers. But of course, I did the Rent Show for decades and was talking about the Rothschilds and the paedophile seesow, the Queen, and all the things they were getting up to decades ago. So I was the only one in the world who was actually revealing the truth, but decades ago. And all of these old media people caught up decades later with a bit of Epstein files. But the lengths the British government have gone to try and paint me as a drug dealer, what? And then the penny dropped. Once I knew that this was the rape offspring of Jacob Rothschild, then of course I'm an existential threat to the Rothschilds, because they've got this bloodline of Rothschild Middleton with the rape temper tantrum man baby, Baldy there, and they've got their Rothschild offspring who are supposed to be the bloodline of Lucifer, and Wills is supposed to be the Antichrist. The People's Voice did a whole thing on that, and this is his bloodline. Or if he fails, because remember, there are many Antichrists until you get the Antichrist of all Antichrists coming along. So maybe we've got Gormless George to be the Antichrist. They're saying he's going to Gordonstone, so he'd be able to get into a lot of buggery and buggering all all Asmodeus stuff. But the bottom line is that they have set themselves up as the leaders of the Luciferian cult, which runs the entire West. I was talking about that decades ago on the Rent Show. And suddenly, decades later, everyone's spouting the Tim Refat line. Everything in the West is done for the Luciferic elite and the religion that binds the ruling classes of the West together. And of course we see in Russia, with all the oligarchs being in bed with Epstein, and the oligarch who was best friends with Maxwell's daughter, got beaten to death in a pool of blood just recently. So one knows that this Luciferic cult isn't just in the West, but in fact deeply embedded in Russia, the new Soviet Union, too. And we know, of course, that Putin went to all the bunga parties with Berlusconi, who was another member of the Luciferic cult. So Putin doth protest too freely about the vampire balls and eating flesh and because of course all the oligarchs in Russia are Luciferians too. Now, as you might guess, my coming along and saying that Lucifer has cursed the royal family didn't go down too well. And of course we have the Queen demanding I be thrown in a loony bin, and then I was thrown out because I was classified as sane. So of course, if he's not a nutter, how else can we discredit this man? Because they've got it all set up. We're coming up to World War III, and we've described the Albert Pike World War III, where the Muslims and the Zionists get and ignite World War III, and then it all goes to hell in a handbasket with all the nihilists going batshit crazy, and everything goes bang, 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 bang. And we've got World War III happening as we speak with the Israel-American war with Iran. So of course, the whole point of World War III is to bring in the age of Lucifer, and the bloodline of Lucifer produces the Antichrist, and the Antichrist rules via cyber Satan, AI, the entire world. So it is an existential threat for someone to say the emperor's got no clothes, and even worse, that Lucifer told me that the royal family were cursed because of Middleton, the Rothschild, breeding with the royal family. And now I find out that Wills is a Rothschild too. So they're double cursed. Now, if they are the bloodline of Lucifer, Lucifer gives you extraordinary black magical powers, and you certainly wouldn't be succumbing to cancer. And remember, he's had it for a long time and kept it quiet. It just got out of control, and then it became public. Now he's sharing the news that allegedly his cancer has got better. you must admit, Vinny, he looks like a very sprightly 90-year-old, doesn't he? The Luciferic power simply gleams out of his skeletal cancerous demise. I think not. So we've got Middleton, who got cancer and is dead, and we've got Middleton Mark II, as in Avril Lavigne Mark II. We've got Charlie Boy, who's been struck down by cancer, but he's got better now, and he looks magnificent for a man of 90. And of course we had the Duke of Kent's son-in-law, who, according to the Mail, was what, 8 million in debt or something, and shot himself. And of course, his father-in-law is the head of the Freemasons. Is that Duke of Kent or something? And guess what his beloved wife has got? Any ideas, Billy?
But she's got cancer.
Ah, she got cancer too. So this marvelous line of Lucifer, with all of its Luciferic power, is simply in the same boat as the kill-shotted, with their P53 gene knocked out and all the exosomes full of DNA, giving them cancer. So the Luciferic cult that run most of the world actually have been going on that, well, we don't actually think you're the bloodline of Lucifer, and if you're not the bloodline of Lucifer, then where the hell are we going to get our Antichrist from? And we've got World War III already happening. We've got Albert Pike's war between the Zionists and the Muslims, which will go nuclear with at the drop of a hat. So we don't believe that Wills is the Antichrist, because if he's the Antichrist, he could at least have kept his wife Middleton alive and kicking. You must admit, if that's the Antichrist power, you certainly don't want it, do you? And if he has got the Antichrist power, he could at least have kept his hair. So, in case you hadn't worked out, I've been busy doing all my Luciferic black magic, putting it on the forum. Most of it's too horrible to release for public consumption. Wouldn't you agree with it?
Yes.
Certainly couldn't put it on YouTube. Real black magic. But the people on the forum have been getting so much new black magic from me and Lucifer, a whole new branch of branches of black magic, that they're all bleating that just too much of them, it's just too much information. Can I explain minutely in detail? Blah 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 blah. Can you do special videos for the forum on, you know, every single aspect? Blah 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 blah. While meanwhile, I've been busy in Hong Kong, unlike Vietnam, which has no Freemasonic grid whatsoever. When I landed in Hong Kong, it was all clear and earth energy, pure. While in Hong Kong, of course, the British were there for hundreds of years, and in Hong Kong, they've got a nice Freemasonic temple installed on the 2nd of April 1949, and across from it is a nice Union Church, Catholic, and then a few hundred yards up the road is the site of the fountain that was built in 1846, taken down in 1932, but still the power spots there, and we've got some hideous postmodernist fountain which is very large, so doing 24 clockwise revolutions around the fountain kept me fit. And of course on the eclipse of the moon, which was over Hong Kong, where the interdimensional power over the Earth is completely blocked by the Earth. I did 78 revolutions for all the tarot magic, and I was busily discoursing with Lucifer about these new branches of black magic, and discovering the entire Elohimic control science in every possible way, and simply saying, yep, I'll do you, I'll check that over. So the Elohim are only the Hellies. The entire Freemasonic grid is run by me, and we've got Lucifer and the Psi Lords, whole new branches of black magic, and having taken over the Elohim, which means that Lucifer can no longer be turned into Satan by Neos. All of this discussed at great length in my gloating on the forum. Did you find it interesting, Billy?
I did.
But definitely not YouTube friendly. But for those of you who are new to this, World War III is coming. The Albert Pike World War III between the Zionists and the Muslims that detonates World War III. And if you don't believe me, let's listen to the controlled opposition. The Republicans' poster child, he wasn't Tucker Carlson.
It's happening around the world in the wake of the war in Iran that began a little over a week ago. And so much is happening, and it's not exactly clear how it's all connected. All of a sudden you read that Israel is occupying parts of southern Lebanon. Killed a priest last night. Really? What is that? Is that true? You read that there are power outages in Bangladesh. Bangladesh? Yes. Asia is suffering. The world is suffering due to the choke point of Hormuz, the Straits of Hormuz, that are closed or semi-closed by Iran and have been since this began, and that's causing massive downstream effects in markets, in manufacturing, in the global economy. How long is that going to last? What's the end game there? And then, of course, the war itself, which is playing out in Iran and Israel and throughout the Arab world, really, primarily in the Gulf states, but not just the Gulf states. What's the damage? Well, the truth is, in a lot of cases, we don't really know, because the censorship of this war on social media, of course, big mainstream outlets are censored, always have been. But the promise of social media was you could get unmitigated information, you could get videos live from the scene, and now suddenly you can't. That lasted about 24 hours before the clampdown. And in part, that was by governments of the Gulf states. They don't want physical destruction of their countries broadcast to the world. The government of Israel has clamped down completely. They don't want videos of Tel Aviv or Haifa burning. You can, in fact, in some of these countries, go to jail for posting that stuff online. But it's not just the governments of those countries that are imposing censorship. It's the social media companies here that are imposing censorship on the American people who are paying for all of this, so they can't know. And then there does seem to be a kind of censorship practiced by the US government around casualties and deaths. How many people have died so far in this conflict? How many have been injured? Where and under what circumstances? Now, these are sensitive questions in any conflict. And of course, you don't in any way want to degrade the effectiveness of the US military. You don't want to dispirit the troops whom we are rooting for sincerely, always and everywhere, rooting for Americans.
So we've got Tucker Carlson, US war developments, looming nuclear war, blah, 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 blah. So you can watch that. I'll probably have a listen to that because it's got this guy who definitely isn't a blowhard. I recommend him. He gets the Tim Refax seal of approval.
Dude, but at least it was written in a book and published in 1925. So he says that after World War I was just over a few years, and before World War II even started, he's now thinking about this Third World War, and it says that it will be caused by the differences between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. That's what it says. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm in which, in all its horror, will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin and savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. So he's against Christianity and he's against atheism. They're supposed to fight each other to the death, you see. Then, he says, everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowledge where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. That's what he says. Brought finally out in the public view. So he's saying that Lucifer will finally make himself, the good guy. He's going to save the world from these atheists who don't believe in deity and from these Christians who believe in the good God. Well, so it says, this manifestation will result in the general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Well, I don't know if it's true.
So that's the plan, and you believe that the plan was going ahead, and in fact the plan for World War III is happening as we speak. We've had the preamble with the special military operation of the Russians in Ukraine. So it's rather like saying, oh, come here, dear. I'm going to give you a special rape operation. Or going into a jeweler's in London with your sledgehammer, which is the norm. Who pays when you've got a sledgehammer? This is a special robbery operation. If it's good enough for Putin, it's good enough for me. You know, I love this. It's not an invasion, no, it's a special military operation. Well, are you killing anyone? Yeah. Have you invaded another country? Yes, but it's not invasion, it's a special military operation. You see how we've got into the end times where we've got double speed. So with Albert Pike, the Luciferic cult that ruled most of the world, now going, yeah, we're in World War III, and this is going to bring in the age of Lucifer and all the Luciferic knowledge, and we don't believe that the temper tantrum Rothschild rape baby has a scintilla of occult knowledge because he can't even keep his wife cancer free and his so-called father's cancerous. And the head of Freemasons, son-in-law, just blew his brains out. Oh, by the way, the head of the Freemasons, with all the occult power, Duke of Kent's wife was Princess Michael of Kent, has got cancer too. I know she's 91 or something, but she still looks younger than Charles. So here we've got the bloodline of Lucifer, according to the Rothschild, and according to me, grifters. And if Baldy is the Antichrist, then we've got Gormless George as the Antichrist. But this is the problem for the Rothschild royal family, or now let's forget the royals, just the Rothschild family. We've got World War III. It's not 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years away. It's already started, and the Luciferic knowledge is supposed to be released, and Lucifer is supposed to triumph over the Jew God, and whole new branches of black magic and knowledge are supposed to come into the purview of the Luciferic cult. So what we get from Prince William, bit of cooking, or what was the last one? They were at the BAFTAs. So you Luciferians, all you're getting for the Albert Pike prophecy is Kate Mark II and Temper Tantrum Man Baby at the BAFTAs. Meanwhile, I'm in Hong Kong activating the Freemasonic grid left by the British to take over the Earth energy of the planet, and incept Albert Pike's prophecy. Now, so you might ask, why is Lucifer in league with a Turkish Cypriot fantasist? According to the Rothschild royal family. Why would Lucifer even give me the time of day, let alone conspire, bet, and double bet with a nobody? Well, the thing is that Tim Rifat is not a nobody. He is Kalki, who is the 10th avatar of Vishnu, and uses black magic on the black magicians. So if you're Lucifer, you'd certainly not want to be Kalkiized, would you? Because Kalki would be coming after Lucifer like a bat out of hell and his entire cult. So you might go, oh, that's a new purpose of black magic. Yes, we use black magic to go after the Rothschilds. What do I spend most of my time doing? Well, going after the Rothschilds. And the Elohim, who are the Jew God of the Christians. So obviously I've got it in for the Christians as well. And of course, all of the Christians have become Zionists and are cheering on what Israel has been doing in Gaza, which, you know, whatever you think of the Palestinians, I just crushed a cockroach on top of my toilet. That's by the by. But whatever you think, in Christianity, this is definitely un-Christian. Doing what the Israelis did to the Palestinians. So if you're a Christian, you'd be bleating on that this is evil, not cheering on if you're Pete Hegseth and the rest of the Christian Zionists. And of course the Israeli ambassador, not the Israeli ambassador, the American ambassador to Israel, who said that Israel should basically take over the entire Middle East. Which means, of course, lots more Gazas. So Kalki is mentioned in Hinduism and in Buddhism, but strangely enough, Kalki, in both Hinduism and Buddhism, who comes to reap the Kali Yuga, the Dark Age, and bring in the Age of Light, which of course then links up with Lucifer, does it not? If we can free Lucifer from being Satanized by a filthy Neos, which is basically the Christian religion, then Lucifer, of course, is the collector of light from the black magic torture of the interdimensionals, and of course the unjust. So that, of course, would then fit in with the Albert Pike prophecy, the Luciferic Age of Light, where Lucifer is used as the torturer in chief, black magic on black magic, of the unjust interdimensional demonic filth, to power new source for the Antichrist. And the Antichrist in this context is not evil, but an anti-Neo, where he doesn't turn Lucifer into the evil Satan, but raises Lucifer to have the opportunity of becoming the new source, which the Elohim wanted to do by stealing from the source. But in fact, I've been describing how you can make new source by source level torture of the Elohim and everything Elohimic, and all the Elohimic creations. And the religion of the Elohim is in fact Christianity. So you see now why all of the Church of Rome are pedos and promoting World Economic Forum garbage and wokeness and love for all of the illegal migrants that are flooding the West and turning the West into a wonderful, wonderful place, if you're Kalki. And I talked about all of this, the use of migrants as a weapon of war, Chagworld, in my red shows decades ago. And I was talking to a vampire and she said, well, I was listening to your red shows, and I thought, you know, I'd be dead by the time what you're talking about in the red shows came into being by living through it. Yes, you are. So you see now why Lucifer made the bet with Kal-king, because of course Kalki's going to do in the Elohim, so Lucifer doesn't get satanized, and instead Lucifer becomes the light bringer of new sourceness to Kalki, who of course ends when he's taken out the Elohim and then sublimes, leaving the new age of light. So then we want to embody Lucifer, not the Satanized Lucifer, but the new source Lucifer, to bring in the age of the just. The so-called golden age that comes after the Kali Yuga, the age of darkness, evil. So you see why Lucifer made the bet with me, lost with Perry, who of course has been Trudeau'd. So she's doing wonderfully. The curse hasn't affected Katy Perry. She doesn't have Iris Goldsmith stuck into Daisy Dove by some bastard, no, Kalki. She's still happily with Orlando Bloom. Now Orlando Bloom's now with a 20-year-old, or 20-something, doesn't want old meat. And of course, the Rothschilds had to fix her up with Trudeau to grifter the Luciferic cult that, oh no, nothing wrong with Katy Perry. She was the Queen Witch of the royal family, and everything's fine. They didn't get cancer, and she's now with Trudeau, and Bloom isn't wandering around with a 20-something woman with a smile on his face. So you see the optic, it's all about optics. The grifter Rothschilds have to grift the cult, because the cult runs the West. So you might say, well, the Rothschilds have infinite money. No, they don't, because they've got to do stuff, you know. They've got to go around killing people and forcing people to do their will. That which means the lieutenants beneath them are vital. You know, the heads of MI5, MI6, CIA, Mossad, the head of MI4 that runs the entire UK, all of the Epsteins that run Congress and Senate via blackmail, and you know, all the billionaires who've got the kiddie videos to blackmail them, all done by Epstein's film photographer was of course Kevin Spacey, who's been going around molesting young boys, allegedly. So here we've got Zena LaVey, and we had this weird theory that Anton LaVey, who headed the Church of Satan, and Zena LaVey were bred to produce this woman, Taylor Swift, and we talked about them making two of them, Becky, and of course it's too embarrassing to have two clones or identical twins, so they got rid of Becky. Since then, Most of it's been scrubbed from the internet if you try and look for it. You can find most of it on my YouTube channel, but if you try and look for the original stuff, it seems to have vanished. But nevertheless, if there's any truth that Taylor Swift is the offspring of Anton and Zena LaVey in some weird Illuminati breeding plan, and remember Epstein was into these weird genetic experiments. If you look at the Epstein files, this was dear to the heart of Epstein and the Rothschilds who run Epstein, and of course the Israelis. And Anton LaVey was Jewish, and Zena LaVey was definitely Jewish. I don't know if the mother of Zena LaVey was Jewish too, but definitely, if this is true, Taylor is Ashkenazi Jew. Now, if you're the Rothschilds and you've got temper tantrum man baby with I'm not cancer and I didn't die, Middleton Mark II Rothschild goldsmith to produce Goldsmith George, either temper tantrum babies, the so-called Antichrist, or Goldsmith George 12 is the Antichrist, but he's a bit young, isn't he? Because it's already started. We've got World War III started already, and the light and all the knowledge is supposed to have been released, and all the black magic rituals released to bring in the Antichrist. And the Antichrist, of course, is anti-Neoine, which means that Lucifer never gets turned into Satan, never gets turned into Elohim by all the methodologies I've been talking about at length, but in fact becomes what the Elohim always wanted, to become new source. And how would you do that? Well, of course, you'd have to breed from the old source. And what's Kalki? Kalki is the 10th incarnation of Vishnu, the source, who uses black magic and the worst aspects of black magic on the Elohim and their creatures and creation to destroy it, make them suffer, and bring in the golden age. So if you're Lucifer, you definitely want to have Kalki not only taking all your power, because then you could clean it from the Satanization and it being turned into Elohim by the filthy neo-Jesuses who I despise, with Katy Perry losing the bet for Lucifer, and I got all Lucifer's power. But you then also want the double or quits bet where Lucifer becomes the eternal slave of Kalki, the source. So that the source can control Lucifer to escape being Elohimized and Satanized, because he can't be possessed by the Elohim to become Satan if he's possessed by the source, can he? So after Kalki's got rid of the Elohim, then of course Lucifer would want to be released from being the slave of the source, because he wants to become a new source to bring in the age of light, and uses the Antichrist, the anti-Neo, to raise Lucifer to new source level. Yet if you're going to do this, you need a anti-Neo, an Antichrist. So wouldn't it be perfect if you could embody Lucifer in the Antichrist? So the Antichrist, that means that Lucifer is forever free from the Elohim, who are now only allies by Kalki. If he never becomes Satan, is raised to new sourcehood by being the offspring of Kal-king. And of course, if Lucifer is going to be the offspring of Kalki, you'd want a mother, would you not? So we have to look round for a mother